I made every nation in the entire world a tributary of Ming, the Emperor of China. This video was heavily requested and it's going to lead to quite a few things. Ming will have to deal with massive disloyal vassals like the Ottomans and the Mamluks from the get-go. The HRE will be disbanded because there will be no valid emperors, and nations who decide to leave behind their emperor may have a hard time growing as they'll have to attack other tributaries to grow. And at the same time, the mandate is going to grow at a crazy fast rate with so many tributaries, and we're likely to see a very stable Ming. At least that's my expectation. But I am curious, what do you guys expect to see? Make sure you let us know in the comments below the video. If you're excited for it and you enjoy the video, make sure you leave a like and share it with a friend who you think would like it as well. Ah, the world in 1444. One where everybody is a tributary of the Ming, even the Incans and the Aztecs up here. I do have to say, this video I was bullied into making because you guys would not stop commenting about it. So, all right, here you go. And speaking of bullying me, feel free to bully me for future videos that you guys think you might like in the comments below the video. And if you see a suggestion that you do like, make sure that you give it a thumbs up and maybe add on to their comment with a reply. Anyways, it's hard to say what's going to happen. I really am not super sure. I'm sure that some of them are going to be particularly disloyal, specifically the bigger ones, England, Mamluks, Ottomans, Castile. So they likely won't stay tributaries for long, but then they won't be able to do much because the tributaries around them are going to be protected by the Ming. So I'm not really sure, but there is one way and one way only to find out what happens, and that is speed 5 and unpause. Now, obviously, tributaries cannot be considered great powers, so Ming up here is #1 great power. But for some reason, Palembang popped out. I actually think it has something to do with the fact that they went pirate confederacy. I assume that they're not allowed to be a tributary if they're a pirate confederacy. I don't know how that mechanic works. But yes, aside from Palembang, there is one great power, and it is the Ming. Little under 2 years in, and France and the Ottomans have both declared their independence. I don't actually know how that really works. I think it does hurt them, but I'm not sure how much it hurts them. They're still gaining a crazy amount of mandate. They were making over 2 a month when they had both of them as tributaries. Even getting rid of the migratory natives of North and South America as well as Oceania, we still have 523 tributaries. And if they can push through all these guys, I believe they get to turn them into regular vassals as well. So we may see a massive strong Ming. Hard to say. What do you guys think is going to happen? I'm actually really curious about this one because this video has been very highly requested. A few months later, Lithuania leaves the Union as well. And there's been a bit of a cascade. Uzbek has left of all people, but now the Mamluks as well. So over time, this map is going to get less and less blue and more gray. And eventually, it's probably going to get a little bit of red in it as well as people start to attack into the tributaries when they sense a weak Ming, if they sense a weak Ming. Kind of nuts. We are only 5 years in and they have passed 2 reforms and have 1.8 mandate going up per month. Lots more people have left. We've got England, Aragon. VJ has also declared their independence, but it doesn't appear that any of that is slowing down Ming's role. And now 13 years in, we've already passed 4 reforms. And you can see here with only 2 of them left, the Emperor of China can use the mandate to elevate a tributary state to a direct vassal. I think that is where things are going to get really interesting. But you can already see they've lost like 150 tributaries, and it's not going to be slowing down anytime soon. And here's our inaugural war. Somebody broke free, Muscovy in this case, and then attacked Ryazan, who called in their allies of the Great Horde in Uzbek as well as Ming, their overlord. Though I'm not really sure why they attacked them because they are outnumbered like really badly, like 5 to 1. Obviously, Ming is going to come in and take a ton of losses to attrition, but I don't think that Muscovy is going to come out on top on this one. I really doubt it. 1472, and the Ming has passed all of the celestial reforms and now has 100% mandate. So I think maybe they're going to start vassalizing. I actually don't know if the AI even uses those buttons, but we'll find out. Meanwhile, in the other parts of the world, there is some absolute chaos going on, and there is some border gore in the works. Muscovy lost that war and gave up a bunch of land over here to the Great Horde, but then immediately turned around and attacked Lithuania and is steamrolling through them, occupying a very large portion of their country. Denmark picked up quite a bit of land over here in northern Germany, and now they're going to be paying for it with an absolutely massive coalition, hence why their poor subject Sweden is absolutely just getting dominated. And in the aftermath, Denmark has lost Norway and Sweden as subjects, as well as every single province, well, mostly every single province they took in northern Germany. And absolutely my favorite thing I've seen so far, Gotland took Stockholm. 80 years in, and borders are looking a little funky. In Europe, we've got some new tags, some formables, as well as some releasables. You have to remember the Emperor of the HRE cannot be a tributary, and so making everybody in the HRE a tributary dismantled the HRE. Spain has formed, and France has made their way into Catalonia. Pope Man has entered the Maghreb as well as the Balearic Isles. Two Sicilies has formed, which is always a cool tag, and it looks like they actually have colonized Tunisia as well. The Ottomans having a bit of a failure to launch here, with Byzantium still in charge of Constantinople and Genoa owning a lot of the southern Greece. Gotland still in control of Stockholm like a Chad. Sweden making their way all the way down bordering Moscow, and the Mamluks making their way all the way towards the Horn of Africa deep into Ethiopia. Though we can see it, we've got an AI Jewish simian. Very cool. I always love seeing a rare tag. As for the Ming and the Empire of China, they are still rock solid, gaining 1.7 mandate per month with a still very impressive 163 tributaries, and their borders have even grown a bit, though Korea LARPing as Mongolia is also pretty cool. Bengal doing Bengal things in Jaunpur, eating up a large chunk of Bahmanis. Sind working their way into Iran, while the Timurids make their way out into Tibet. We've got a Spanish La Plata in Argentina, English Sierra, or however that is pronounced, over here in Brazil, and the Spanish West Indies going pretty strong over here. And the eastern border of Texas is getting colonized by the Spaniards as well. But I am kind of curious why France is not doing well. As far as I know, they get to keep their subjects when they become a tributary, but I might be wrong. I don't know. 1592, and we have a Somalia on the map. Very cool, beautiful, beautiful color. Sadly, the Jewish boys down here in Simeon have been removed from the map, and now they are just an occupied peoples. Reformed in southern France and northern France, as well as Portugal, apparently. And it looks like Henry VIII was okay with just remaining married this time around because they never formed the Anglican Church. They are just, Presbyterian Reformed. Ming still doing extremely well all the way up into Siberia and now pushing towards Manchuria/Korea. Bahmanis is gone down here, and Bengal still has a chance, though it looks like Malwa has popped out to be the main power up here in the north with Jaunpur, with Vijay in the south. For some reason, the Ottomans still haven't taken Constantinople, but they've expanded all the way down to Cairo and then all the way up in the north, well into Lithuania's lands. The Papal Maghreb is not something I expected to see, but I'm happy to see it here. And Poland and the Teutons are absolutely duking it out for the land over here. Russia has formed, doesn't look super good because it's split between Kazan, Sweden, and the Livonian Order. And speaking of Sweden, they took their old capital back as well as Gotland, but it looks like they lost everything else to Norway, of all people. England still absolutely dominating the northern parts of France, though they're not really doing much over here in Ireland, still very much under the control of Scotland. Nova Hollandia and Vinland up here in Canada, with the Roanoke colony and Chesapeake colonized by Norway. The people in Florida sound like they have potatoes in their mouth when they talk, and people from Louisiana actually speak English in this timeline. An absolutely massive New Spain over here in Mexico, and the Spanish West Indies almost exclusively colonized by Spain. Spain also down in Colombia, New Granada specifically, next to Muisca, one of my favorite tags in the game. And we have a united Inca duking it out with Spain for the Peruvian coasts. Aside from that, La Plata coming along well as English Brazil. Spain is also colonizing the Cape of Good Hope on southern Africa, and the Mad Lads of Spain are also over here in New Zealand, in Australia as well. Also, take a look at this. Most of the islands are consolidated under Majapahit, Sambas, and Malacca over here. Very cool. I don't think I've ever seen this Jaffna tag, but they have a very nice map color. And in 1592, Ming still the #1 great power, with over double the development they had in 1444, though Spain is doing quite a good job of catching up to them, with England behind them and the Ottomans behind them as well. And well below that, Austria, France, Hungary in the #7 spot, and Bengal, no surprise, it's a Chewbert vid, in the 8th spot. I've seen a lot of things in my time, but Russian Russia is definitely one of my favorites. Because the lads got pushed out of Russia proper by Kazan and the Livonian Order. Former HRE lands are absolutely wild, with Riggin, North Germany over there, which is awesome. And this is pretty cool. We've got two Sicilies in the south of Italy and an Italy in the north of Italy, pushing the Papal States up into Provence. This Bourbonnais nation, French nation, is actually doing quite well over here in Switzerland, and the French have done a pretty good job of consolidating their lands after a kind of rough start, to be honest with you. Britain does not want the Netherlands to have any of their own coasts. They only have Antwerp and this Oversteeched up here, and for some reason they have Dortmund as well. The New World is where it gets a little interesting, with Vinland up in Canada and the United States also up in Canada, as well as the American Northeast and the Southeast. Florida has been taken over by the Spaniards for better or for worse, as has Louisiana. So instead of speaking English, they now speak Spanish. New Spain, almost exclusively colonized by the Spanish. Very good. New Granada and the Spanish West Indies also doing their thing over here. La Plata and Brazil still working it out, though it looks like they are maybe doing a war right now to sort out those borders. And I do love to see a united Inca still existing. Pretty cool in my book. Spanish, California, as well as Cascadia going strong over here. And Korean Manchuria not doing so well next to a massive Ming. One thing that I'm really happy to see is whatever this is, these little fingers reaching down here into Southeast Asia, those are from Timmy. Timmy is in Southeast Asia, but all the way into Tibet. Meanwhile, they're not doing so good on the home front. I don't know if they've lost much land, but they don't seem to be doing pretty good over here. Meanwhile, a little tag of Bitless popping off over here, controlling a very large portion of Crimea as well as Caucasia. And somehow, someway, Byzantium still exists in Constantinople. The Turkish AI is officially broken right now. My Serbian lads can rejoice. Serbia still exists right next to a massive Austria and a massive Hungary. Somalia is still going strong over here in the Horn of Africa, and it looks like the English have colonized a bit of West Africa. Meanwhile, East Africa has moved into Central Africa, and Kilwa is pushing the Congo out. And we've got a little over 100 years left, and the New World is very yellow. Vinland and the United States have been mostly eaten up by the Spanish, as has Spanish Brazil. Though it does look like Inca hasn't really changed a whole lot, so that's nice. Songhai seems to have filled out most of the coast over here in Western Africa, and the Spanish and the Danes down here in South Africa. Somalia still dominating over here in the Horn, even into Yemen, and somewhere along the line, Gudrat decided to choose violence. After Gotland and Stockholm, Timurid East Indies is another one of my favorites. Ming is still doing well. They haven't really changed a whole lot, maybe a little bit more into Russia than they were before, but how about that Japan into Manchuria as well, pushing out Korea? Ligor, who is an OPM over here on the Malay Peninsula, has taken over these islands here, well, at least this island, as well as the Malay Peninsula for the most part. And Majapahit is over here into the Spice Islands because, as you guys know, the spice must flow. We also have an American Malaccas, which I appreciate. Ottoman's not feeling too well, getting gobbled up by a bunch of different people, but definitely my favorite of all of them is this one right here. You guys see those little flags? Those are flags of the Ming. Russia is just gone. And Hungary has decided to gobble up most of Bulgaria, as well as Carpathia, all the way into Poland and into Bohemia as well. The two Sicilies are still here, but they don't look too good compared to what's up in the north of them. Italy, Austria, and Riga apparently control the majority of Germany, with Mainz, for some reason, having crazy borders over here. The Netherlands are looking to take back their lands from the English, and France is literally just a sliver of a couple of provinces over here, and they don't even have Paris anymore. It's crazy how many years we've gone, and the borders in Ireland have not changed literally at all between Scotland and England. And the new contender in Scandinavia as well as Russia is Livonia, specifically the Livonian Order, with their little friends the Teutons over here. Great Horde, not so great anymore. Just one province over here in Rizon, and a bear. Quite a few changes in the last 100 years or so. Spain is in control of all of North America for the most part, except for Vinland over there in Michigan, Chichimeca over in Sonora, and then that Mexican tag down there in Mexico. But my uncontested favorite thing of this video is here. The United States capital in Vesbygden or whatever in Greenland. Legendary. We have a very border-gory Brazil surrounded on all sides by Spain, and an Inca that hasn't changed their borders basically a single bit in the last 200 years. Very respectable. And while Spain was colonizing all of North America, they decided why not go into West Africa as well. And then you look over into the Congo and you say, who is this yellow nation over here? Well, it's definitely not Spain, I can tell you that. It's Scotland. Scotland forever. With their neighbor's capital province here in Benguela or whatever of England. Absolutely beautiful. Somalia lost a couple of provinces to Ming, but overall finished very respectable. And Gujrat had a very solid finish as well, taking over the vast majority of the development in India, minus Ming Hindustan up there. Pretty good. Meanwhile, Bengal was pushed back out of Southeast Asia by Ayutthaya, and a very large majority of the development over here in Indonesia is Majapahit and Sambas. America still has one province over here on Papua, which is cool. And Australia and New Zealand are both still Spanish. Just like every other colony in the world, it seems. Japan had a pretty good game, but then their success is very much dwarfed by the success of Ming. Though, no surprise, Ming had 100 mandate for 400 years. Though Ming does have some competition over here. The Livonian Order is good, the Teutonic Order is good, but how about that Italy? Italy controlling most of France, most of Italy, most of the Balkans and Austria, absolutely strong. How about the border goer over here in the Ottoman lands? Bitless decided they wanted all of it. It all belongs to Bitless. And then Ming Mashriq and Ming Palestine over here, just for a little bit of added border gore. Pope Man's capital over here on the hill in Tlemcen, so that's pretty good. And the funny thing about Spain being super strong and prolific on the colonial front is that on the home front, they've actually lost some land to Italy. Riga, the Teutons, and the Livonian Order all did very well up here in Northern Europe. Poland is basically a one-province minor over here in the mountains, right next to Slovakia. Shout out Slovakia. And how about that Westphalia, right next to a formed Franconia? So 2 of the German tags formed, and I love that. But then you look across over here to Scotland, who controls the entirety of the British Isles, except for one province down in like Sussex. I don't know why they didn't form Great Britain, but they didn't. They definitely can, but they didn't. I don't know. Maybe they need that province in the south. Europe is primarily Catholic with a little bit of Orthodox and Reformed for good measure. North America is Catholic in the west and Protestant in the east. In South America, all of the colonial stuff is Catholic, with the Incans maintaining their faith of Inti. Africa didn't change a whole lot. It's mostly just whatever it was, only it's now got trade companies in there. And it doesn't look like anything over here really was converted, except for maybe some provinces over here was converted to Buddhism. Definitely some provinces down here were converted to Buddhism. It's all Catholic down under. And Majapahit is Sunni, actually, which is pretty interesting because they're actually Hindu in 1444. We've got one Catholic province, one Shinto province, and one Sunni province in China, which is pretty funny. And Japan converted a bunch of lands over here in Manchuria. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. We have a 19 army Timurids with their capital over here in the steppes. They're a one province minor in the middle of literally nowhere. Most people know about Lucca, right? The Austrian culture Lucca. Lots of Novgorodian up here. And it definitely looks like the Poles pushed their culture over here. The Austrians even encroached a little bit on the Bohemians, so that's a thing. The poor Frisians, man. It appears that the French have pushed into Brugge, and Ghent over here is Dutch. It appears that it's all Kulka up here. I don't know what that is, but it is all Kulka. And it's all Castilian over here. I think this is going to be a theme. South America is Platinian, Castilian, and Mexican. But we can't forget about the English over here and the Incans over here. North America is a bit more interesting. We've got Danes over here on the east and on the north, as well as plenty of Dutch, some American here in the heartlands, and then Mexicans over here on the west. I do have to say this though. There's only 2 types of people in this world that I can't stand. Those that are intolerant of other people's cultures, and the Dutch. Name that movie and you get a cookie in the comments. The great powers in the end are, no surprise, Ming with almost 6,000 development, very impressive. Spain actually finishing in number 2 despite owning like half of the world. Italy, a very respectable 3rd, with Westphalia 4th after them. By the way, Westphalia formed by mines. Transoxiana in 5th place with Riga in 6th, Japan after them, and then our beloved Somalia in 8th place with just under 1,000 development. Italy was popping off so much that they have over 50% towards finishing out economic hegemon, which is impressive. And if you guys like that video, make sure you leave a like on the video and subscribe for more. There's plenty to come. If you have a suggestion of something that you would like to see, make sure you leave it in the comments below the video. If you want to join my Discord, my subreddit, my Twitter, those things are all linked in the description below the video, as well as my Patreon. If you want early access to these videos, my patrons had access to this video last week. As little as $5 a month will get you early access. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope that you guys all have an absolutely wonderful day. And until next time, stay chill.